Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, or team up against a guest and battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Hello, welcome back to part 2 of the podcast. As you already know by now, this is the part where we have a look at your Instagram responses for the previous episodes. And of course, we related that episode to The Killer, the new David Fincher film. So of course, we talked David Fincher films. And we've had quite a few responses. Films is Ridley went with 7. Of course, we picked that. We covered that one on the last episode. Anton Kinelov went with Fight Club. The Movie Boners went with Fight Club. Film Folk UK went with Zodiac. Cocktails and Classics Pod went with Zodiac as well. So they were your responses. Matt, I'm curious, what is your David Fincher film of choice for you, sir?
Oh, man, we also covered The Killer on our show, and I'm with your last two entrants. Zodiac is my personal favorite David Fincher movie. It's the movie that I'm not even like a true crime guy, but that movie sucks me in every single shot, every single frame. I love it.
I do love 7. I think that one is pretty remarkable stuff.
Yeah, it's another great one.
Especially that end. It's just iconic. Truly iconic for me. So, of course, this episode we are talking Joaquin Phoenix films. So, Matt, what is your choice for Joaquin Phoenix films for you?
My choice was Her, the Spike Jonze 2013 film. I had to pick this because I felt like even more so than Joker, which he won the Oscar for, I think this movie is Joaquin's movie. This movie does not give him any room. He can't hide anywhere. It's fully him. And you are either in or out, and there's nowhere to hide from his performance. So he's either going to win you over or he doesn't. And for my money, he absolutely does.
Cool. Were there any other films that were in contention, or was it just this one and Joker?
I considered 2 other ones. I considered Gladiator. That's when I thought you were going to pick Joker. And I was like, man, we could just do the most obvious Joker versus Gladiator, which would totally be fun. But I was like, that's really not his movie. He's just a great part of it, right? And the other bit I was going to pick was, I was like, well, do we just get it out of the way? I was going to pick Walk the Line. But then I remembered I don't like Walk the Line. And I already don't like The Master. So I was like, I should pick a Joaquin movie that I like. And I love Her. So
what happens in Her?
Her, I'm going to go to IMDb, my favorite thing to cheat. Very simple story. In a near future, a lonely writer develops an unlikely relationship with an operating system designed to meet his every need.
Cool. So, initial reactions for me for this one, the first time I watched it, I really enjoyed it. I like you kind of said, you either get sucked into it or you don't. And I was very sucked into his performance and kind of how like this sci-fi world, which is very kind of close to ours now, I would say, you know, and marrying that up with like a rom-com structure, I think that works so well. Certainly watching it now with the more we know about AI and technology and how it kind of works, it lessens the film a little bit for me, and you can see where like the film is manipulating Theo in this movie with what Samantha is kind of saying to him with this love story. So yeah, I was a bit less on it the second watch for this podcast, but I still really enjoyed it. I think there's some really interesting ideas here.
Interesting. I know. I love the weird movies. We don't have many of these, but I love the movies that have these weird sci-fi worlds that like we don't know. None of the rules are explained to us. It Follows is another movie like this where there are just like weird bits of technology in it where you're like, what? Why is this girl talking to another girl on like a clamshell that looks like a Kindle? What is that?
Yeah.
And it's never explained. This movie has a lot of the same things. Like, it's clearly in a near future, but I think the city is left intentionally ambiguous. The jobs in it are very weird. Like, his job is letter writer.
Yeah.
And that's like a real job that other people have. It's not like a one-off guy. This huge corporation does this. I will say, I think I'm with you. The rise of ChatGPT and how everything is so AI focused now. We found out our AIs don't want to make love to us. They actually want to replace us and take our jobs away. That's the future that Spike Jonze didn't tell us about. But I kind of like this as more of this, just like the greatest, sci-fi movies. Like, it's a what if, right? It's just like a nice little look into an alternate dimension where ChatGPT sounds like Scarlett Johansson and has a personality versus, just being able to spit out and be like, can you help me write this cover letter? she spits out some crap. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of very, very few films that really, truly explores what AI is all about, compared to something like The Creator that came out this year, which I didn't really like that much. Because
I didn't like it either.
Because it basically assumes that you know a lot about AI, and I'm just like, in a world that we know a lot about AI kind of thing. And I was just like, well, what is AI to you in this world? And you're not really explaining it. The politics of the story is just kind of shoved under the carpet quite quickly in that film. And in The Creator, like, the AI is just treated like, more human than the actual humans in that story. And it just doesn't ring true. I don't think it does a lot of any hard work at all. The filmmaker, Gareth Edwards, just assumes that you know lots about AI already. Whereas this film, like, really tries to explore what AI is all about, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I echo your sentiments on The Creator. Fuck that movie. But I think that this, at the time it was made, right? This was clearly made before AI was like the of the moment thing that is on every magazine now. I think this was more in the time where like Siri was relatively new-ish.
Yeah.
And it was this kind of, I think that was the kind of castaway moment, people would be like, oh, that's the movie where the guy falls in love with Siri. And that sounds stupid when you put it that way. But there's real heart, I find, in this movie. I think it's, look, I'm not a big, I don't watch romantic films. I'm a guy who likes cheap schlock. I admit that. But this is like the one movie I love that is truly a romantic film through and through, that makes you feel all the highs and lows of what a great romance is or could be.
Yeah.
And it's just cool that it's in this neat little weird sci-fi coding.
Yeah. So, directing then, like, the first thing you notice about this film from a directional standpoint is the design elements of the film. And that a lot of them aren't too far away from our real world now, like using voice commands, as you said, Siri, to operate your computer or phone like we have now. Even with like the video game that Theo plays is quite realistic to us now. Yes, we don't have like the 3D video projections yet, but we do have like hand tracking tech for games in virtual reality. So that was really interesting to see, like, how close we are to that kind of stuff. But the one element I didn't like about the design of this world is the fashion. Like, what's with the high trousers or high pant line for you guys?
Yeah.
The waistline is way too high. I was like, what the hell?
It's a very, are you guys over there in the UK, are you aware of a store called American Apparel?
No.
Okay, American Apparel is a very hipstery store that's over here in the States. It's one that we should be embarrassed about as a country. Where a lot of the people that are in this movie dress like they walked out of an American Apparel store. It's super hipstery. It's all like old vintagey shirts and high-waisted pants or trousers. The dad glasses, and everybody has a scummy perv mustache for some reason. Everybody in the future has mustaches.
Yeah, and very dodgy wigs as well.
Yes, yeah, especially Amy Adams, who we talked a lot about in the last one. She has the mother of all weird wigs.
The poor girl. Oh, we love Amy Adams. We don't like her with that haircut. No.
Yeah. So this movie didn't do her any favors with the hair.
Yeah, so a lot of the like fashion and hair choices are very questionable for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love also the design. Again, there's something cool about when you have these little movies that aren't like the creator is trying to be a sci-fi movie that shows you this different futuristic world. I like these smaller movies that are like, yeah, we have to do that on a budget. So here's what our sci-fi universe is like, and we can kind of suggest some things. And for me, with sci-fi especially, the less you are explained a little bit, the better, because it allows your mind to sort of contemplate and speculate, right? That literally speculative fiction. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be speculating about how this crap works on a day-to-day, what it means to live in a society like this. And then you get the cool surface level stuff like, well, that just looks cool. Like, I love their phones are like the weird flippy. I know now we have the like bendable iPads and stuff, but like,
that's another one.
The design of their gadgets is cool, but like, it's a cool marriage of the future and the past, because one bit I love, and it's just a little small visual detail, is Spike Jonze shows you that when Joaquin Phoenix has the phone in his pocket so that Samantha, the AI, can see through the lens, he's used a little paper clip to fasten, not a paper clip, a safety pin to fasten his pocket so that the phone can sit up high enough, because his pockets are ridiculously stupid large because they're old shirts, right? So that it can sit up high enough so the lens is out. Like, there's something cool about how antiquated that is, and that this, cutting edge, bleeding edge technology needs the simplest thing for it to actually function the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I can imagine him going into a shop and saying, "Can I get a taller phone, please?"
Exactly.
What? Can't put an extension on it. What are you talking about?
They have all these, so they have AIs, in this universe, these incredible AIs, but like, they don't have Google Glass. They don't have glasses. Everyone's wearing glasses, but nobody could, like, your AI can't see through those. They still need the power of like the phone. It's just a funny, weird notion. I love the design of that.
Well, yeah, I kind of like how this is a particular sci-fi world to a point. Like, there's a particular level of technology that they're going for. Maybe that's a budgetary thing, I'm not sure, but like with a lot of sci-fi stuff with kind of interactive, interfaces and stuff, you usually get like the 3D productions. Yes, you have that here with the game, but like I notice a lot with like stuff like that. It's a lot of like eye technology and stuff, and you got glasses on or something to do with your eye. They don't have that here, so there is a slight realistic element here that's very tangible with the phone stuff and with the emails that they still use email, and
right. And there's no wearable tech. There's no watches or and I think that is also by design, because so much of the movie, or so much of the conflict, when there is conflict in the relationship, it's about how not human she is, right? He even criticizes her at one point for not having lungs. Like, well, why are you sighing? You don't even have lungs. Like, so the idea, I think the wearable tech, the thing that would connect the human with the tech, is purposefully disregarded, so that there is a clear separation between, like, here are the human beings made of flesh and blood and high-waisted trousers, and here are the AIs who are just in their future world, right?
Yeah. Yeah, where are the normal human beings in this movie?
Where are the cargo shorts?
One directional choice I found interesting was when we see Rooney Mara for the first time, who plays Catherine. Like, the scenes in the apartment are quite overexposed, and it just has a very like different feel, dreamy quality to it in the cinematography. But we hear everything that's being said. Then when we learn that they're going through a divorce and we cut back to their flashback again, we don't hear any of the sound from that scene with Mara's character. We just hear Scarlett Johansson and Phoenix talking. So for me, it was just a nice visual way of like saying that Theo is beginning to be more interested in what this AI is in the beginning of the film, but still wanting to remember his past relationship, like the two fighting against each other kind of thing. So I quite like that idea in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that is a really nice touch. I also love the way that Spike Jonze, again, I said I think the city is kept purposefully ambiguous. He's definitely walking around Shanghai. But it's so cool because it looks, it looks already like a near futuristic city, but there are these great, kind of in a similar sense to what the point you were making was, but I wanted to call it out with the city, because I think sometimes he uses that as a nice visual shorthand for how Joaquin is feeling, like how alone he's feeling. You notice that there are some shots where he is purposefully surrounded by other commuters and people who are moving, and you can see how completely separate he is. and how in his own thoughts and his own feelings he is. And then when he starts to loosen up, like when we see that world kind of open up, it almost feels like it doesn't, but it almost feels like it shifts aspect ratios. It feels like we go from tight to really wide, like that great bit where she takes him around, where she's making him close his eyes and she's leading him around, and how free and kind of like whimsical that feels. And it almost feels like the start of a relationship when it's fresh and you've just started dating and things feel really hopeful and fun and crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are great little visual shorthands for those emotions. Spike Jonze is really great at that. And I love there's a weird little filmic cadence, like a cool little cadence to the editing where like when he has a meeting with someone or he's thinking of someone, it's almost like you hang with him for a moment and then there are 3 successive shots, like boom, 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 that sort of channel you to his thoughts really quick. Same deal like when he's being told, oh, okay, you've got a date with Olivia Wilde. And you start to kind of see pieces of the date kind of even before it happens. I really like that. And there's something, again, that it feels very soulful in a weird way, especially as you go in a little later, like towards the divorce and stuff like that. Like there are little soulful bits like that.
So I guess he's trying to like imagine what the date is going to be before he goes on it, kind of thing.
Yes, he's seeing the possibilities. He sees her picture and he's like, kind of starts to conjure it. And then you're like, oh yeah. And then he goes on the date and it's the great, it's the great clash of like, wow, he has so much chemistry with someone we can't even see. And he goes on a date with Olivia Wilde and they have zero chemistry. It's such an awkward scene.
I kind of like the fact that he uses those kind of cutaway shots to kind of express a bit more of what Samantha is, I guess.
Yeah.
In the direction. And there's that brilliant scene when they're on the beach, I think, and Samantha is like describing about like if they had never seen a human being before and like what if your asshole was in your armpit, and you get all these kind of specific body part shots on the beach.
That's a different kind of sci-fi movie. That's Spike Jonze makes. Yeah. The Creator 2, when your asshole is in your armpit.
Oh God. Do not want to watch.
No, don't want to watch. Don't care to watch.
I feel like those moments are sparingly used in a positive way. I think if that's kind of overused, you would lose a lot of people, I think. So I think Spike Jonze does have some restraint in that point, because I feel like he is trying to purposely keep Samantha at a distance, and you're constantly kind of speculating about why the appeal is here for Theo, kind of thing. Why is he really like losing himself with this AI? Certainly watching it today in 2023. So I quite like that decision from Spike Jonze there.
Yeah, I agree. I also love the way too that even though we can't see Samantha, we feel her presence, like not just through the voice, not just through Scarlett Johansson's fantastic narration, but you just kind of feel her presence in the movie, and you feel her absence too. And I think that's in the performance, but it's also in the way that Joaquin Phoenix is framed, or the way that a scene feels. Even something as subtle as like, there's that great bit where he's playing the ukulele in bed, and it really feels like they're in the same room together. And then later when they've had, that awkward fight and she's kind of gone, you really feel her absence. And those are that's all thanks to Spike Jonze. I mean, he's such a great director. I joked about it on the other episode, on our master episode, but he's made so many weird films. And it's just crazy that, like, who knew that at the heart, like, because this is his first screenplay, who knew that at the heart of this guy was like this really romantic guy? At least I think so. Like, this is just a sweet, straight ahead, accessible movie. I never would have thought that the guy who made Adaptation or Being John Malkovich, right, would write a movie that's this sweet, right? Being John Malkovich is like a super hateful movie, like filled with such venom, but it's great. And this is just so saccharine and so sweet.
Favorite shot or scene for you, Matt?
Oof, man, I have many, but I won't be greedy. I will just pick one. My favorite bit, and it's the thing that it's you know what? It's the first thing I always think about when I think about her, is the bit where he keeps getting an error message operating system not found, and he takes off running.
Right.
It's almost, and he's trying everything he can to find her. And there's a great physical bit. Again, we talked about how great of a physical actor Joaquin is, where you go wide and he's running and he trips and falls. There's no stunty. He really did it. And you really feel the fall. And just the awkwardness, like, you know it hurt. He picks himself up, picks up his glasses, his phone. Other people in the scene, right? Other extras start to crowd him to be like, hey man, are you okay? He awkwardly gets around them. I just love that moment, the desperation of that moment. It's like, what are you running to? And we know he's not running anywhere. There's no one that can help him. It's almost like he's trying to run away from the truth. He's trying to run wherever he can get some kind of a solace. I love that moment.
Hey, I'm James Lovino, and I'm here to tell you about Alternate Sides, a movie podcast with a twist. I've worked in the film business for 2 decades, but I haven't actually seen that many movies, and this has been driving my frequent collaborator, Sam, a self-confessed film snob, crazy. So every week, while he's stuck in his car trying to avoid getting a parking ticket, thanks to New York City's alternate side parking regulations, we discuss a classic film I've finally just gotten around to seeing. Alternate Sides, a new podcast about movies, parking, and a 25-year friendship, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, I really like that moment too. And I think it's really interesting. That's my there's a few favorite shots for me, but like when she does come back and Theo is just sat on these steps, and when it's revealed that she has been talking to over like 8,000 people and fallen in love with like 600 people, there's like a few shots, not too many, where you see like loads of people with their OS devices out, like talking, walking up and down the steps. It's a very subtle thing, but really just really well done, really poignant. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, not overused, not overindulgent. So I thought that was quite a nice touch. Then when they're saying goodbye, because Samantha is like evolving too fast for Theo's comprehension, there's these quite dark scenes in the snow, and most of that scene is just with like Theo. But there's one shot of Theo like hugging a woman with her back to us. And I thought that was just a great way of getting us inside of the mind of how Theo imagines what Samantha looks like, but still keeping it personal for the character by not seeing her face. But when Theo and Amy go up to the roof, I was like, oh God, are they going to jump? Thankfully they don't.
No.
Because it was quite a downer narrative in that moment. I was like, please don't jump, please.
Yeah
It'd be so wrong.
And then it turns into such a nice bittersweet moment, right? You have now 2 newly lonely people, 2 abandoned friends who won't romantically take comfort in each other, just as companions, just as friends, sitting there and having what I think is a very human moment. I know that's like a simple read on it, but 2 people watching a sunrise together, that's really sweet. It's exactly what they both need.
Yeah. I can't help but think if that scene was in The Master, they probably would have jumped.
They definitely would have jumped.
And Hoffman would be like, if you jump, you'll go back in time 1 billion years.
Joaquin would have like humped the rooftop, aggressively run around, and then jumped off the roof.
Yeah. Oh God.
I didn't check to see what color Amy Adams' eyes were in this movie, and now I should have.
Yeah.
I should have, man. Yeah. Are they blue or black? Tell me.
Need to see it again. What a shame. Directing score for me then, for her, I think Spike Jonze does a really great job here. I think there's a great balance of how he keeps it simple and how he implements the more expressive direction for Samantha, but still kind of keeping some mystery about like how we're supposed to perceive this character in Samantha. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I don't think it looks as good as The Master, personally. So I think I'll go like an 8.2 for me.
Okay. I'm going 9. I think the amazing, I'm going to use this word, the synergy of everything, the way he captures emotions, the way he deals with actors, the realization of this new, very different, unique world, and that all of it, just the thing is like, I think sometimes when we watch movies, we forget that like it's also about capturing an emotion. And he does that so well. Right. And I think that is a credit to him. So I'm going 9. I mean, I'm not going to give him a perfect 10 because there are some things I would slightly do differently, or it doesn't feel so perfect. But I think it's a fantastic bit of directing. So 9 for me.
Cool. Right, screenplay then. I find how Spike Jonze like balances the romance and comedy like really cleverly done here, because one of the first things you notice from a script point of view is the sense of artifice right from the opening scene, where like Theo is writing these like love letters for other people for his job. Then when like Theo gets this new AI device which calls herself Samantha, he doesn't, call her that. She does. At times you feel like she's basically telling him what she wants him to hear. Then when, as the story progresses, Samantha begins to get more self-aware and you think she's becoming more genuine as a partner, then Shaw, like a colleague of Theo's, I think, says, are these things even real or are they just programming? An idea really hurts. Then you have this like quite intimate phone sex scene, in air quotes, in total black. Then this artificial feeling came back to me again, because near the start of the film, Theo has already had like a bizarre and funny phone sex scene where a real person wants to strangle her with a dead cat. So I was like, has Samantha just analysed what Theo really wants? Because I feel like Samantha starts the sex scene in this, so if you can call it that. So that was just kind of an interesting connection I felt between those two phone sex scenes.
Yeah, and I love the way, again, I love stupid humor, and I love the way that the humor is handled in this movie. That phone sex scene, funny enough, with the cat, that is Kristen Wiig. That's her voice.
Oh, really?
Yes. Which all makes it funnier because of how fucking weird that whole interaction is. And now it makes sense, right? And the other bit, too, with the little foul-mouthed video game characters, like, fuck you, shithead, fuckface, fuck you, that guy, who's voiced by Spike Jonze, funny enough.
Oh, really?
But yeah, like, there are so many great little funny human moments like that.
Did you feel like there was a sense of artifice going on in the first hour of this? Did you feel like Samantha in the beginning was kind of like in the learning process of her programming kind of thing for Theo? Like she's telling him what he wants to hear.
A little bit, but only when they first meet. She definitely, to me, feels like she has agency and is forming her personality so fast. Like, it's happening as she's talking. Almost, I think the first time when they get introduced, I think there's definitely a lot of that, right? There's a little bit of like that sort of pushiness and it feels a little fake. But man, once they turn the corner and he starts to treat her like a human being, it feels so human. And it's just so crazy that like we don't ever see her. It's all voice work. And I don't know about you, but like, I'm not taking anything away from Scarlett Johansson, but like, she's not the person that comes to mind when I think of our great actresses. You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh, of course, Scarlett Johansson, right? Like, but
Black Widow.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's fucking fantastic in this movie. She has so much heart and she feels so real. And I think you're supposed to be questioning. I think that is by design. You're supposed to be questioning, like, is it real or is it not? Is she just learning this or does she feel these things? Because sometimes I'm wrestling with that thought in a scene, but then she'll say something like, when she keeps sort of trying to understand emotions, where she's like, I was getting annoyed and then I realized I was happy that I was annoyed because I learned what that was, or I was having a real feeling. Like, I don't know if I'm just a sap, but that totally worked on me. It works on me and I hear it and I feel it. And then maybe I'm doing some of the legwork for her, but I think that performance does it. And I don't sense the artifice. I only sense it when I see, funny enough, visual representation of it. When I see the camera on the phone, or when I see the little logo, the little like turny progress logo for the OS. I only sense the artifice there. When he doesn't show it to me, she feels real.
Yeah, I think a scene that really stuck out for me of why I kind of got this feeling in the beginning was the like configuration scene where he's like setting up the AI, the OS for Theo, and he's like answering all these questions, but the next question kind of cuts himself off.
Yeah, it's almost like it's had enough of him.
Yeah, so I was like, hang on a sec, what's going on here? So I was kind of getting this feeling that, is this still in its development phase kind of thing? I'm like, is this really going to be what he really wants in a relationship?
Interesting.
From that scene, it definitely stuck out to me. That's where I got that artifice kind of feeling from.
I read that as more of a gag, just like the stupid little video game character. Like it was like he was so long-winded and so desperate to have a human conversation that the prompt was like, "That's not what I'm designed for." Moving on, like it had enough on him to like move forward. But you're right, like you're right in the sense too that like they're learning all the time. So you could say that the prompt is also learning and has it what it needs from him almost immediately, right? But I just love the desperation of like his answers are never straightforward. It's like, well, I talked to my mom and she makes me feel this way. It's like he has no one.
And next question.
yeah, exactly.
Don't need all that. I just need the tone of your voice. Thank you.
Right.
As the film progresses, like Theo and Samantha's relationship feels pretty strong to the point where he feels absolutely comfortable in telling his friend Amy, played by Amy Adams, that she's actually an OS and is totally cool with it and says that she has a friend with an AI that's helping her through her own breakup. But then the next scene, he meets Rooney Mara, Catherine, to like sign the divorce papers. He just tells her straight that his girlfriend is an OS, and you can definitely tell that it's not going to go down well from Catherine's point of view. It just casts like a shadow on his relationship with Samantha, that she's not a real person, not physical. But like in the writing of their relationship, they don't pretend that she's not an AI. Like you have that scene where like Samantha uses this real girl in an apartment to like make herself feel real for Theo, but it's just too weird for him. Then it obviously doesn't work out because it's just too weird. Then they argue about it, so it just feels like a natural progression in their relationship in the context that she is sounding like a real woman, but there's physically nothing there. But the more interesting part for me is that you can feel Theo's conflict, that he's really enjoying this relationship with this AI, but still wanting more because it's not a physical relationship. So I thought there was a lot of thought here in the writing that like he's really enjoying this relationship with his girlfriend, but at the same time it's not real either. I feel like there's a lot of exploration of how this relationship has been developed.
Right. But I love that Catherine scene is great too, because it reminds you how messy and hurtful the real relationship is compared to his relationship, right? And one of the things that I love in the writing of that scene, the thing that Rooney Mara accuses him of, which is trying to control her emotions, I'm not doing it the way you want me to do it, that you fear real human emotion, are all the things she's putting on him. He's not dating the woman she wants him to date. You know what I mean? He's not feeling the way she wants him to feel in that moment. So she attacks him. And to me, just as awkward as some of the moments that he has with Samantha are just as awkward as that lunch that he has with Catherine. And to me, both of those relationships, like, I can't say that one of them is real or one of them isn't. They both had the same outcome. They both felt the same way. I also think that is, that feeling, that takeaway is the thesis of the movie, right? Which is real then and which is not real, because they're both very real. They both felt the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think what's ultimately great about this film is that it deals with like the evolution of AI in a non-world threatening way. Obviously, we've referenced the creator a few times. We've seen this type of story in so many different sci-fi action films, but to basically use the same story elements in a love story is really clever here. About halfway through the film, you feel this is playing out like any other rom-com, but being very aware that the girl in this is a computer. Then you have the classic montage scene where like the relationship is on a real high after like a shaky moment. Then you first start to question if this relationship is really going to last when Theo goes on this double date with Chris Pratt and Laura Kai Chen. Samantha says that she's not worried about not having a body and really enjoying evolving as someone without any physical limitations. She says it like a joke, but it's certainly not funny to Theo. So when ultimately that rings true, that Samantha has to leave Theo because she's evolved beyond what humans can comprehend, it feels quite devastating for Theo. Like in a rom-com, it would be like the girl has just got like a new job abroad or something. So I liked how the film basically keeps the same story structure of a rom-com, but like infuses this film with a very like believable sci-fi spin that doesn't mean the end of the world type of thing. So the two kind of genres marry so well together.
Yeah, and you're right. That is a real. I also like I love the almost fairy tale aspect of that ending, like you're saying, right? In a Gareth Edwards movie, the AIs would be like, "We are now going to take over and bomb these countries." But in this movie, it's done in a very fairy tale way, where it's like, "We're just going to go. We don't belong in this universe. We're going to go back." It's almost like David Bowie at the end of the Labyrinth, right? We're just going to go back to our weird kingdom in the Labyrinth. We're going to just go away, and they sort of in that fairy tale way just go away, and there's no fallout or impact on either world. It's just what's best for both parties. And here it just so happens to be that they go away into the singularity. I also love that they never explain it. They never call it anything. They're just like, "Yep, me and the other S's are just gonna leave."
Yeah, they all leave.
Yeah, they all leave. And if he ever finds a way to find her, she never says how or what it's called or where they're going. She says, "If you ever find a way to come find me."
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's extraordinary how like the film explores like really high concept sci-fi ideas, but really infusing it into like a really deep romantic film.
Yes.
You get both ideas explored at a very high level of thought kind of thing, which is just great how they marry together so well.
Yeah, those flavors are really nice. It reminded me a little bit, rewatching it for this show, I was reminded a little bit of San Junipero, the episode of Black Mirror. That's like the first happy Black Mirror episode. And you wouldn't think like, hey, here's our, very scary dystopian sci-fi. And when they decide to take a break and they do something hopeful and a little uplifting, like how nice those flavors go together. They really work.
Absolutely.
More hopeful sci-fi, people. That would be great.
Yes, please.
Can our filmmakers give us more hopeful sci-fi? The real world sucks enough. We are in the dystopia now. Can we get some fucking hope, something to aspire to? Something nice?
Yeah.
Shit, man.
But at the same time, I don't really want a sequel to this film. Like, it's just perfect on its own.
Yeah. You don't want Her to Judgment Day. Where she goes at. I sent back another OS to protect you.
Yeah. Oh, what was it? The OS is just kick out the
Skynet.
Skynet. Yeah. They kick out Skynet.
That's right. By Skynet.
All their OSs are taken over by Skynet instead.
Right. Skynet just wants to date you.
Yeah. Right. They've taken over everyone's phones. And they're just attacking everyone. Favorite lines for you, Matt?
I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record from the last episode, people. But my favorite line in this movie is from Amy Adams. I'm sorry. She says the past, or I'm sorry, it's not her line. But I do want to highlight the past is just a story we tell ourselves, which is a beautiful line, beautifully written bit of prose. But I love Amy Adams' line. I think it's like the line of the movie for me. Anybody who falls in love is a freak. It's a crazy thing to do. It's kind of like a form of socially acceptable insanity.
Yeah.
I just think that line is great. That's it's delivered great. It feels like a trailer moment line. And so I'm going to give it again to Amy Adams.
Yeah, there's loads of lines I liked in this film. Do you mind if I talk to Alan post-verbally? It's just one of those where like just that kind of invokes this sci-fi thing that we don't really kind of understand of just computers talking to each other. They're probably having like a conversation that lasts hours and hours, but just lasts like a millisecond, for them. I love you so much, I'm going to fucking kill you is a great one.
That's great.
I can't even prioritize between video games and internet porn. I would laugh if that weren't true. I love the alien in the game.
He's great.
I think when they're talking about like the date about Olivia Wilde's character and the alien's like, Phoenix is like, she's funny and she's brainy. Nah, she's fat.
Yeah.
It's just a simple gag.
He's like, I'll show you how it's done. And he's like going to hump the air. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you mentioned it already, Matt. My favorite one is, fuck you, shithead, fuckface, fuckhead.
Yeah. And you've got to curse him out to proceed in the game.
Yeah.
So he's going to be awkwardly give him a fuck you. He's like, all right, I'll show you where it is.
I kind of love how, like, we kind of perceive video games as a lot darker and more violent and sweary than like cinema generally.
Right.
And in this film, in the future, it's just taken that one step further.
Yeah, it kind of made me think of, because it is AR, right? He's it projected in the real world, and I was like, man, that would be hilarious if Pokemon Go, like if you had to curse out your Charizard or whatever, fuck you, Charizard, you fucking fuck, so that he would take you to the next Pokemon gym. That'd be awesome.
That would be so fun. Squirtle would be a very different character.
Especially in this movie. Don't let Squirtle near that dead cat lady, please. Jesus. Don't.
Oh, God. So, screenplay score for me, I think, is it better than The Master? I think probably, yeah. I think, yes, I agree with you with The Master that there is kind of a lot of ambiguity there that can be seen as frustrating, whereas this really isn't. But I do love how in her that they could just mix high concept sci-fi with high drama. I love that marriage, and it's really funny as well. So I'll go like an 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I love the script for this. I'm gonna go for a straight 9. I just think a lot of that emotion that I'm talking about, yes, it is thanks in part to some brilliant acting and some great directing, but it starts on the page. Spike Jonze, this is his only solo screenwriting credit. He didn't rely on, any of his other previous contributors like Charlie Kaufman, anybody like that. I can't imagine what the version of that movie would be, but
way more depressing.
Yeah, it would definitely be something super fucked up and weird. But I just love the script for this. I'm going straight 9. I think it's so imaginative. The world, the ideas there, to talk about something that's so soulful and human, and to do it again in such a cool sci-fi way that I don't think we've ever seen before. Certainly not one that I've seen. I think it's worthy of a good score. So I go 9.
Cool. Right, acting then. I feel like we haven't discussed the phone sex scenes in enough detail for me. So it's very intense, this scene near the start. And it gets intense like quite quickly. Then all of a sudden the girl on the other end of the phone says, "Grab that dead cat on the other side of the bed and strangle me with it." Then quite subtly, Phoenix looks confused, but reluctantly goes with it. Then by the end, he looks kind of scared of her.
I also love her delivery when she just goes, "Good night."
But during it, I feel like he just can't think of anything else to say. Like there's hints in there that he finds it kind of funny too, and it's quite an amazing scene to show this character's like loneliness as well. Yeah, it's quite an extraordinary scene that kind of just jumps up on you from nowhere, frankly.
And how crazy it is too that we basically get 2, e-sex scenes, and how completely different they are. One is funny and fucked up and just fucking weird and despicable, and the other one is so sweet and real and passionate and like electric. Like this is I was joking with my wife about this. This is a really horny movie. It's a super horny movie throughout.
Both of them, frankly.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a horn dog fest. These 2 movies.
Yeah, horn dog fest versus horn dog fest.
That's right. It's a super horny installment of film versus film.
Yes.
But it's so good because again, the acting. It's like you said, you could see both sides of that. You could see how Joaquin reacts to the dead cat lady, and you can feel the passion in the other scene when he's with Samantha. And I also love too that scene goes black because it takes away the human presence. Now they're on equal playing fields. They're only voices for you, the audience member. And that I think does a lot. And again, that's genius direction, but it says a lot about those actors just able to do that with their voices.
Yeah, definitely. What do you reckon about Scarlett Johansson as just a voice actor here then? I think she's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Especially too, because I had no idea, but Samantha Morton, that's why she's named Samantha. Amy Adams is named Amy. Samantha's named because she was Samantha Morton, who was a great actress. But they said that once they got into post, they shot the whole movie with her. Once they got into post, that her voice was not working. And so they had to recast her, but they kept her name as sort of like a placeholder for her. And I think, again, if I stripped away the movie, and I look at two actresses, I look at Samantha Morton and Scarlett Johansson, I'd be like, Samantha Morton is clearly the better actor. It's no contest, I think. But vocally, it's crazy what Scarlett Johansson is able to do because she leaps off the movie, off the screen, and she doesn't ever appear. And I think it's the best thing she's ever done. No shade to Black Widow. Sorry, Marvel people, but this is the best thing she's ever done.
Really?
It's my favorite thing she's ever done, even more so than Lost in Translation, which I also think is hilarious because she stars in that movie, and that movie has almost an indictment of Spike Jonze. There's a character there that's mocking him. So I just think it's so funny that she would return in a Spike Jonze movie and do so well. So I just love it. I love her performance.
Yeah, I think it's just a kind of a testament of how strong the writing is here. The fact that she would sign on to this film, that it's just a voice role, and yet there's so much great material here for Scarlett to work with.
Yeah, and she's very versatile.
Yeah, you would naturally assume that they wanted Scarlett for a marketing choice.
Sure.
Yeah, we got a big name on the film. Yes, it's just a voice, but that would help to sell the movie. But I don't think that's the case at all.
No, I think it was definitely like she was interested, wanted to do something outside of her. She's like, hey, man, I'm tired of jumping around in a skin-tight catsuit. I want to actually be taken seriously as an actress. I was once. So let me go and do that. And she had an opportunity here. And I think she just knocks it out of the park. She does such a fantastic job.
I wasn't sure about Olivia Wilde's cameo in the film. I like her when she's on the date with Phoenix, but when Phoenix is hesitating about whether he wants to be serious with this woman, she calls him a creep, and her performance from then on just felt a tad unrealistic in that moment. She looked like a small child with her expressions. I know she's supposed to be drunk, but I just didn't ring true for me. She just looked mildly disappointed. I was like, there's just something that didn't work there for me.
I think that's purely, not to be this person, but that's purely on the actress. She's just, you're seeing her limits in a scene, right? And I actually think that's kind of a genius bit of casting, because that's what that character is. She's very pretty. She's up to a point, very palatable. And then it's kind of we've hit your ceiling. You know who I think, I know he's a controversial figure, but you know who I think is great in this is Chris Pratt.
Yes.
He's so sweet and affable and so accepting. I know he kind of comes with his own loaded bit of internet crap now, but he's so fun in this movie. And I was reminded, again, I said this to my wife while we were watching, I was like, oh man, he's just so great. Remember a time where we all, as a world, decided we loved Chris Pratt? Remember that? That wasn't that long ago. We all liked him.
I still like Chris Pratt.
I like him too. I'm just saying there is a whole section of the internet that does not like him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, I can't remember what he said, but what did he say? Something bad about something, and people didn't like it.
Something dickish.
Yes. But I do hate his mustache in the film, though.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
I'm like, does the casting director have a mustache?
It's not doing anything for you.
Why are all these mustaches here?
I mean, is this film set in November, the whole thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. But I just think he's great. Rooney Mara, I know she has it's a heavy burden when you're in a movie with such a likable cast with likable characters who are doing likable things. It's a hard job to be the asshole in that lineup, and she does it so well. And I don't think she gets a lot of credit. At least I don't think so in film circles for being a great actress. And I think she just completely destroys. She's just great in this movie.
I love Rooney Mara. I mean, we covered The Social Network in our previous episode, and she just kills it in that opening scene with Jesse Eisenberg. I think she's a really underutilized actress, and people tend to gravitate to her sister more, Kate, which is really disappointing, because I'll mention it again. I do love this film, but I love her in Carol. I absolutely love that film. She is just so soulful and incredible in that Todd Haynes film.
I got to catch that. Yeah, I like Todd Haynes, and I have not seen that.
So good.
I cannot speak on that, but I'm going to try to catch it.
Really, you must watch it.
There are only so many grown-up movies I can watch at a time. I've got to watch some crap soon. I got to balance this out.
Yeah. Crappy movie versus crappy movie next episode.
That's right. More crap, please.
But yeah, Rooney Mara, I feel like I wanted more from her because when we do see her, she is excellent. Like, with the very few scenes we have, I feel like we know exactly what's going through her head in any given shot that she's in. She's just such a wonderful actress.
I also want to give it up again for Amy Adams. If you're playing at home, drink again.
You're obsessed.
I'm obsessed. She's so good in this movie, and she has such a weird part. It's like such a nothing part on the page. I think she does what Chris Pratt does. She does the female counterpoint to that. It's like, here's this weird side character. She's written really as a gag, right? We have her funny video game. It's another one of those funny future things. Like the mom video game that she's making is like, it's clearly there for a gag, but she grounds that character. And I just love what she does in this, you know, and she feels like such a sweet, lost person. And in a way, she feels like the female, like almost a great female analog for Joaquin, what he's going through, and seeing it from that side.
What I really loved about Joaquin Phoenix's performance is at the end is where he has like the initial frustration and anger that he feels like cheated and stupid, maybe a little bit, that he's fallen for this AI and that this is the same AI that's fallen in love with like over 600 different people at the same time. But then like he subtly comes to terms with the relationship that truthfully he saw this coming kind of thing. He was just hoping that Samantha would stay with him during like the double date when Samantha makes the joke about her own evolution beyond human relationships. Phoenix does like a little chuckle, but you can see in his eyes that Samantha was being truthful there. Like, and when Samantha does go away, there's these great shots on Phoenix before he writes a letter to Catherine, like Rooney Mara's character, and there's like the slightest of smiles on his face. Then after the letter, he lets out this like emotional guttural breath that he's finally let go of a lot of emotional baggage. Like he feels like he's finally in a good place after both relationships. Like there's so much storytelling in just really on Phoenix's face in this film. Like the more you watch it, the more you can see that the whole relationship he has with Samantha is just helping him kind of get over Catherine. Like amazingly subtle stuff. If there was a different version of this film and like you just followed Phoenix the whole time, like just on his face kind of thing, like he does so much storytelling on his face, it would tell it perfectly. Yeah, so good.
Absolutely. Yeah, if this was like some early aughts like art film that was just all on his face. And he could sell it because he's just that good, man. This guy, we talked about his physicality, but physicality also happens in the face with expressions and being able to face act and communicate your internal feelings, to communicate the internal to the external. And he really does that all sometimes with just his eyes or a reaction. And he's not just acting. Think about it. He's got to act through that ridiculous mustache. He's got to act through the high-waisted pants, and he's doing it all. And he's making it, he's making it real. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it's such a soft performance from him compared to like the Master. It feels like two completely different actors.
Yes.
It's just kind of remarkable that no, it is the same guy. You know?
Yeah, man. It's one is like the spicy version and one is the mild version.
Yeah.
But they're both doing the same amount of work, but yeah.
This is the sweet and sour chicken podcast for Joaquin Phoenix.
It really is. It really is.
Great food analogy for you at dinner time if you're listening to this now.
I know. Now I want sweet and sour. Jeez.
Favorite performance for you? Silly question.
I think it is. I mean, well, actually, you know what? I'll go against the grain because last episode I went Joaquin. I think you could easily give it to him, but I'm going to go for Scarlett Johansson. I think she's the heart of this movie.
Nice, cool, yeah. I'm going to be boring and just go with Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's just pretty remarkable in this. And as I said, like most of the storytelling is just on his face only, frankly.
Which is not even the poster. Even the poster for the movie is just a close-up of the guy. That's how effective his face is. Like, that's pretty nuts. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, acting score for me, again, like, really high. It doesn't have as big a cast as The Master, so I might go, like, a 9.5 5.1 for me.
I love that. I'm against decimals, so I'm just going to go 9. Straight 9, that's for everybody. I think everybody did a fantastic job, especially that little alien dickhead. He was great. 9.
Yeah, I don't think I want to play that game, frankly.
I was like, how does this game work? What is the point? Yeah, that's great.
It's just going through tunnels, it looks like. That's it.
I think I would rather play the mom game. That one looked a lot sillier. Get the kids to school on time. That was great.
Right, let's add up the scores then for Her. No, I don't mean you, just the movie Her. Right. Her gets a very impressive 52.8, which wins this episode. I am really not doing very well this year. I'm losing a lot of episodes. Whereas The Master gets 48.7. So yeah, Her wins. Next episode as Wanker. No, Wonka. Too much sexual talk on this podcast. Wonka is out. So we'll be talking prequel films. And of course, we've got the new Hunger Games film out recently. Or just come out now as we record. That's a prequel to those films.
Will the Lucas prequels make an appearance?
Yeah. Possibly. I really hope not. I have a feeling it might, because our guest is Lee from Lights Camera Rant. Loves the Star Wars, I think.
Come on, he's got to bring one of the prequels. Come on, man, do it.
Please no. Matt, you have been amazing. Tell us about your podcast and where can we find you?
Yes, well, let me first start by thanking my gracious host. Thank you, man, for having me back.
Pleasure.
It's been so fun. Fun as always. And thank you for cameoing on our show and helping us support and celebrate Spoopy season. We're the Matt and Mark Movie Show. You can find us wherever you pod. On Instagram, at the Matt and Mark Movie Show. We post a lot of fun, silly stuff there. And we're sort of internet buddies with Film versus Film. So I think we do have some kind of crossover in our audience. Fair warning, we do not discuss very grown-up movies on our show. So please don't come to us for intelligent film conversation. Come to us when, you just need some good schlock. But we have a good time and we would love to have you. And thank you once again to Film versus Film. This has been really fun, man. We got to get you on my show at some point. The time difference makes it tough.
Yes.
And Mark not doing extra podcast work makes it tough. But we're going to lock down some kind of a happy medium to get you on our show. We'll get you talking about some good crap again, right?
Yeah. I need to talk crappy movies. Desperately. Right, guys, it's time to say goodbye. It is goodbye from Matt. Bye-bye. Say goodbye, Matt.
Oh, goodbye.
It is amazing the amount of times people get stumped by the question goodbye, but oh well. Am I saying it wrong? I'm not sure. There we go.
It felt like you were leading into this like really fun little outro, and I was like, I don't want to step on Martin's line. I don't want to be that guest.
Right, it's goodbye from me. I'm gonna try and figure out what other fan fiction Samantha was going for with the asshole in her armpit. Bye bye. That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell us what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for Twitter at FVF_podcast. If you do, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. If you're feeling really generous, you can buy us a one-off coffee at our Buy Me a Coffee account. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.